Boston Light Station, commonly known simply as Boston Light, was first established on Little Brewster Island in outer Boston Harbor in 1716 and is the oldest light station on the North American continent. The original lighthouse was destroyed in the American Revolution in 1776, and the tower was rebuilt 7 years later. In Boston Light's long history, there were no children born on the island until 1932. Ralph Norwood was an assistant keeper in the 1930s. Norwood and his wife Josephine were both natives of Maine. Ralph Norwood left a job in a textile mill to join the lighthouse service. First was a 6-month stay at Great Point Lighthouse, far out on the sandy dunes of Nantucket. By 1929, when they moved to Boston Light, Ralph and Josephine had 5 children. In April 1932, they believed the birth of a child was imminent, and a doctor was called from the nearby town of Hull. It took an hour and a half for the boat to reach the island in heavy seas, and it was impossible to land at the dock. But it didn't matter because it turned out to be false labor. Josephine Norwood recalled what happened in a 1991 visit to Boston Light.
I thought she'd be gone then, and she wasn't. It was just
false. But it was a stormy night, wasn't it?
Pains, yeah. And the doctor tried to land, and of course he couldn't on account it was a storm and real bad weather. So he had to turn around, go back to Hull.
The Norwood's daughter Georgia was born a week later on April 11th in calm weather.
But the next week she was born, everything was okay.
The headlines from the night of the storm forever stamped Georgia as the storm child. The writer Ruth Carman based a novel called Storm Child on the story.
The author, Ruth Carman, she had written other books, and she heard about Georgia and wanted to write a life story.
Georgia and her parents were showered with publicity, and Hollywood subsequently came calling to make a movie version of Storm Child, and 5-year-old Georgia was slated to play herself. Described as smiling and sunny-curled, Georgia was billed as the Bay State's own Shirley Temple. But the movie wasn't destined to be.
I had other children. I couldn't just pick out, and I wouldn't let them have Georgia. So she would have taken it to Hollywood, but it wasn't for her.
Georgia agreed, saying she didn't want to go to Hollywood. She wanted to stay at Boston Light. Georgia, the storm child, was featured in a number of newspaper and magazine articles. One writer described her as a sweet little powder blue-eyed blonde. The legend of the storm child lived on. Georgia's son, Willie Emerson, later wrote a book called First Light, which relates the true story of his mother's birth and life at Boston Light. In the book, Georgia related her memories of life on Little Brewster Island.
I liked living on Boston Light. It was my #1 home. It was my birthplace. I always felt secure, peaceful, and happy there. I kept busy, for there was always plenty to do. We were all happy together and had many good times. It always seemed it would be our way of life forever. When I was 5 and Storm Child came out, that summer many tourists visited Boston Light. All summer, coming in all kinds of boats and beautiful yachts, big and small. Seemed someone always wanted a picture, and I soon grew weary of that. I would hide behind Daddy's chair so they couldn't find me. Then it was all over. We got on with a normal life. The family all went in their own directions, and that wonderful, wonderful life we had known on Boston Light was gone forever, but still lives in our memories today.